Hello there. Hey, it's another time for another video. Still experimenting with lighting, places in the house, trying to find that perfect spot to film. In a house like mine, where all the walls are white and it's really bad lighting in my house for some reason, I'm finding it difficult to find places that work better than others. So this week I'm going to do a little something different. Instead of focusing on one movie, I'm going to talk about something that I've talked about on Facebook and other reviews that I've done, and it's something I like to refer to as my bad movie sweet spot. Now, I think everybody has a bad movie sweet spot. Like, there's movies that we watch that are just bad. For example, you've got movies like the Divergent movies. Now, the Divergent movies, hold on here. Unfortunately, I own all these because, well, I'm married to a woman who likes to read books for teenagers, but to each their own. These are terrible movies, especially, where is it? Allegiant. This movie is nearly unwatchable. It's so bad, except for Miles Teller's performance, which is amazing. I mean, his level of I don't give a shit in this movie is just absolutely fantastic. So I'm not talking about movies that are just bad. And I'm also not going to be talking about movies such as Zombievers, which I highly recommend. It's fantastic, but it's like movies like Sharknado, which is part two, which is my favorite of the series. These movies kind of beat you over the face with the fact that we're bad and we know it. That's not really what I want to discuss here either. I want to talk about movies that are bad, but there's something about them that just draws you to them. Kind of like most people didn't like the Batman and Robin movie that had George Clooney in it. And while George Clooney was not a great Batman, I still really enjoyed that movie. One of the reasons being Arnold Schwarzenegger. I mean, Arnold Schwarzenegger as Dr. Freeze is one of the single greatest, or Mr. Freeze, I should say, one of the greatest performances ever. I mean, everything, chill out, ice to see you. I mean, oh God, I love that kind of stuff. But and I'm going to provide before I go into heavy detail about what hits my bad movie sweet spot. Let's talk about an entire series of films. I'll make this quick. That one of the in the movie series hits the sweet spot for me. You've got Transformers Part One, which I actually think it is a good movie. It's not There's not really anything that bad about it. I mean, yeah, Sam Witwicky is intolerable, and so are his parents, but you kind of hope that it's beginning of them and that they'll evolve as characters. Unfortunately, they never do. And Megan Fox is actually decent in this one, and I'm not a Megan Fox fan. I just don't think she delivers solid. I hated her in Jennifer's Body. Really don't like her in the Ninja Turtles movies. Thankfully, she's barely in the second one. But this one, I would not say a bad movie sweet spot because I actually enjoy the movie. It's fun, it's stupid, but I like it. Then there's Transformers 2 and 3. Now, while Part 3 has tolerable moments, it has characters I can get. I still hate Sam Witwicky and his parents. I hate them even more in this movie. Sam Witwicky takes 3 movies to go through an arc that really only develops in like the last half hour of Part 3. But Part 3 at least is tolerable. It's hard to sit through because it's an overly long movie. But then there's Part 2. Now, if you really hate somebody, and I mean really hate somebody, pretend to mend your fences with them. Pretend you're going to be in a great relationship with them. Invite them over for drinks. Get them so freaking drunk that they can't get up off your couch. I mean, to the point where you have to put a garbage can in front of them for them to throw up in because they cannot move, and then put on Transformers 2 and just watch as they cry and they suffer. Transformers 2 is seriously one of the worst movies I've ever seen. But then we have Transformers Age of Extinction. This is a prime example of a movie that hits my bad movie sweet spot. This isn't a good movie. The plot is everywhere. Some of the acting is just ridiculous, but it works. That's that little switch out from Shia LaBeouf to Mark Wahlberg. Shia LaBeouf is just annoying. When Mark Wahlberg plays dumb, huh? What? Mark Wahlberg, he's entertaining as hell to watch. I loved watching him in this movie. The whole scene where he smashes the beer bottle down, chugs the beer, and goes, "Hey, go get me my space gun." Stuff like that is just amazing. T.J. Miller is the movie. It sucks that he gets eviscerated like 40 minutes into the film. And then you have Kelsey Grammer, who is... Kelsey Grammer needs to be the bad guy in everything. So this is an example of a movie that by no means is this a good movie. I could watch it over and over again because it's just entertaining as all hell. Then we have a couple other ones that I want to give a quick mention to. One that was universally panned by critics. They hated it. Absolutely hated this movie. That's Hitman Agent 47. Now, yeah, it's dumb. It's really dumb. And if you're a fan of the video game series, and I love the Hitman video games, you're not going to be happy about this movie. It does not really go into the video games. I mean, the character is similar to the way he is in the video game, but none of the storyline, it makes no sense. Zachary Quinto, or Quinto, I don't know how you pronounce his last name. He's in it, and I think he's awesome in it. It's just me. No, what we're going to be talking about real quick is, one, London Has Fallen. I've had so many people tell me they hate this movie. Now, I liked Olympus Has Fallen, but it had problems. This one, to me, it's just every bit of fuck yeah that I want from a movie like this. And I hate to quote another film reviewer, the Cinema Snob, when he reviewed this movie. One of his favorite parts was Gerard Butler just chokes the guy to death. It just, guy dies. And the guy playing the president looks at him and goes, "I'm sorry, I've just never seen a man asphyxiate to death before." And Gerard Butler goes, "Oh, I'm sorry, I forgot to bring my knife." Oh my God, I love stuff like that. I mean, this actually feels like it's lampooning some of those late or mid to late 90s action films, some of those Steven Seagal movies that just completely unbelievable, but you could watch them because they were fun. And then another movie that really hits the bad movie sweet spot for me, and I hate to mention this one because I think this is going to be the one that gets the most comments of people. How could you like that movie? Once again, make your own video. I liked Jurassic World. The scene that so many people had a problem with in this movie, the fact that the chick is running away from the T-Rex in her high heels, there's no way that wasn't done on purpose, and people complained about that. Don't get me wrong, I get the complaints about this movie. It's a mess. It's nothing compared to the first. I mean, let's face it, none of the Jurassic Park sequels have met up to that first. The first one is legitimately a fantastic movie. I hated part 2. I really did, except for the last 10 minutes of the movie. I absolutely hated the second one. 3 was so bad that I enjoyed it, but it's not even a bad movie sweet spot. This one just has all the ridiculousness. I mean, the fact that Chris Pratt trains velociraptors, I enjoy it. Now, the last 2 movies I want to talk about when it comes to the bad movie sweet spot, and like I said, if you have your own bad movie sweet spot, maybe there's a trope in a film that when you see it, it just makes you happy. You see certain things happen and you're like, oh, that's my thing. And the person sitting next to you just looks at you and goes, "The fuck is the matter with you?" I like it, like, for example, when a movie has the guts, and this is not that I advocate murder, but when the movie has the guts to do something to a child. Now, I'm not talking like a Serbian film. That's absolutely horrifying and disgusting. I like it when children are put in danger because so few movies have the balls to do that. So that kind of hits the sweet spot too. But I want to talk about The Last Witch Hunter. This is the only movie where where I've actually enjoyed his performances. Like, I like the last couple Fast and the Furious films, but the Dominique Torero character is so annoying. He's such a douchebag. No one that any of us know would like that character. He always has to talk like this. And Corona tastes like somebody's ass. So, I really don't like him. Everybody liked him as Groot. How could you not like him as Groot? This is that over-the-top, his cheesiness just so works in this movie. And honestly, Elijah Wood is fantastic in this movie. It's another movie that's kind of a mess. I understand why people don't like it. I do. It just, like I said, hits the bad movie sweet spot. And since I'm trying to keep this short, running low on time, I'm sorry about that. I'll be funnier next week. I'm just trying to play around with some different ideas for videos, and I thought this might be one. Last week I reviewed the Texas Chainsaw Massacre, and I said that people had told me to stay away from Texas Chainsaw 3D that it was this terrible movie. Every review, I mean, there are people that listed it as one of the worst films of the year it came out. So I found it really cheap used, and like, okay, I'm watching all the Texas Chainsaw movies, I might as well watch it. I didn't hate this movie. I rather enjoyed it. I mean, when you see a movie and in the opening shot of the film, a house catches on fire, and there is no attempt to hide the fact that the fire is CGI'd. They CGI'd fire. As the fire's burning, you can look, nothing's burning on the house. I mean, it looks like the fire's in front of the house. I thought that was great. I'm like, that just set the tone for the whole movie. I think I'm going to enjoy this. And I think most people have seen this by now. I'm not going to, I mean, you know, the main female character in the film, it turns out, is Leatherface's grown-up cousin. And there's a part that the critics hated. They think that she just immediately turns on everybody and turns into a killer. Not so. She kind of gets turned into it. They kidnap her, like the law in this town, and they're ready to kill her, and Leatherface comes to her aid, and she throws a chainsaw at him and says, "Do your thing, cuz." I grinned ear to ear. I did, because then he just saws the fuck out of everybody. You could tell this movie was heavily edited, though. I hope one day, kind of like the beginning, Texas Chainsaw Massacre, the beginning. I haven't seen it yet, but I've seen there's an unrated version of it out there. That's the version I'm going to watch first. You could tell a lot was left on the cutting room floor. You could tell they wanted to do more with this, but it was already so balls to the wall and over the top they couldn't do anymore. So I figured it'd be great to end this video on a Halloween-related film. This is a newer movie, so you can find this anywhere. I recommend watching it. Is it stupid? It's dumber than hell. I mean, it's supposed to take place directly after the events of the very first Texas Chainsaw Massacre from back in 1974. The house doesn't look similar. Bill Moseley, while I love Bill Moseley as an actor, he was in Texas Chainsaw 2 as the guy with the white face that was constantly scratching the plate on the back of his head. He plays Drayton Sawyer, the father. Doesn't look a thing like him, so there's some problems there, especially in the beginning. But once you get out of your head about that and just sit back and enjoy the movie, it really is good. So, like I said, sorry again for not being funnier this week. And not that I'm ever that funny. But, yeah, leave in the comments any movies that you like, that have movies that you know that are bad. You watch, like, Cool as Ice. I mean, come on, that movie's terrible, but when you turn it on, you can't not watch it. So, well, I guess that's it for me this week. I'll try harder next week. Thank ya.